One.
Morning, everyone, and welcome to the November 12th session of the Transparency, Engagement, and Communication Committee. I am Councilman Michael Holmes, and with me today in chambers are the entire committee, Dr. Patrick Harmon, Councilwoman Amanda Cook, and Mayor Pro Tem Britt Moore. We have one item on our agenda today, and we'll get started with that. It's item 2025-459, presentation of the 24-27 strategic plan update and dashboard, and Meredith Martin, our strategic initiatives manager, will be presenting.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just to kick us off today, I wanted to reiterate our vision, mission, and core values, which are obviously a base level portion of our strategic plan. We have started working to get out the information regarding our core values with the city, with our employees, and we will continue marketing those efforts in the near future with examples of how our employees demonstrate this moving forward. I wanted to provide you with an update as to where we are and how we got here. So for our strategic plan progression, we began last summer knowing that we were putting together a strategic plan by evaluating application options to serve for tracking our strategic plan. In August, City Council approved the city contracting with Envisio as our choice solution. We then progressed into the actual strategic plan development with a 2-day retreat in November with the City Council. We held a secondary workshop with department heads in January and presented the final strategic plan to City Council in March. As that was ongoing and once the final plan was established, we loaded the plan into our Envisio software, and as part of that contract, performance measure coaching was included. And so we conducted our pilot program in January with 2 departments. That was a success, and so we've continued with 9 additional departments for phase 2, and that took place this past September and October. And we will continue with the final set of departments for phase 3 of the performance measure coaching in January. This coaching included taking an inventory of all the metrics that the city has been tracking over the years, and then determining what metrics should be part of external dashboards, internal dashboards, and what metrics should be retired, as it was just data being collected and not utilized. The next phase is our strategic plan dashboard, which is launching today. That's the purpose of this, one of the purposes of this meeting. So as I said, the strategic plan was loaded into the Envisio software. In April, our department heads and users were trained on how to utilize the system, provide updates within the system. In August, we began collecting department updates, and then that led to today, which we will launch. Next steps for our strategic plan progression include, as noted earlier, the phase 3 performance metric coaching. That will help us then indicate what KPIs or key performance indicators we want to utilize on our dashboard that would be directly attached to our strategic plan. We would also build dashboards, the external dashboards, with additional metrics for departments on Envisio. And then we'll obviously continually with our quarterly updates here. So to jump into our first quarter update for this fiscal year, the first quarter consists of the dates July 1st through September 30th, and so these are updates around that. So this slide shows the overall progress of the strategic plan, so 36% progression through the entire strategic plan. The donut chart on the left shows the overall status of all the various initiatives and projects that are included within our strategic plan. And so 10% have been completed thus far, 83% are on track, and 7% have realized some disruption. And so
Can we ask questions as we go?
Sure, definitely.
To back up to the last one, just for the record, on performance measures and departments that you're talking to, how many total departments will that be?
We've conducted 11 so far, and I think we have 10 more, so it'll be 21.
21, okay. And that next slide,
Yes, sir.
what are some examples of disruption that you're running into?
So we'll get into that in the next few slides,
Okay.
just because we're going to go through the strategic goals, and then as well as when we get to the dashboard, you'll be able to see specifically those yellow, some disruption. But an example would be Burton Avenue. There was some disruption there with private utility relocation.
Okay.
However, we're back on track as far as we have a new timeline set, and we're back on track. So in this update, there's some disruption, but we've reestablished that timeline for future progress.
Thank you.
And so to jump in, these are going to be very high-level updates. The dashboard, once we get there, you can see kind of farther in and more detailed updates. But I'm just going to go through the 6 strategic goals and just highlight some accomplishments, a couple of challenges we've faced in each, as well as some upcoming priorities you can expect. So to start with, thriving economy, which is focusing on expanding the city's tax base, revitalizing urban spaces, and creating new job opportunities. Some key accomplishments would include business growth and private investment. We had 3 major project announcements this past quarter that would generate more than $21 million in investment and 245 new jobs. We've had some urban infrastructure and revitalization progression. So an example of that would be Summit Drive completion, and the Washington Street Electric Underground project is close to completion. And then finally, for entrepreneurship and small business support, here there have been over $675,000 in grants that have been awarded to local businesses. And then the High Point Economic Development Department has launched a newsletter for our community to help with outreach there. Okay. I didn't know if I heard a question. Okay. Some challenges, infrastructure constraints. An example of this would be water sewer capacity within our industrial parks. And that just kind of limits some of the full development potential out there. And then some economic conditions that the country is facing as well between tariffs and inflation.
How much of an impact would you say that's had on disruptions or exacerbating the challenges that you face?
I think Mr. Bishop could probably speak closer to that. I think some of it is from his updates within the system have been really associated with building like spec buildings within the industrial sites and that sort of thing. I think, it depends on what specifically we're looking at. For upcoming priorities within Thriving Economy, the shared use kitchen, staff hopes to review bids for a potential facility operator within the next quarter, as well as move into the final design phase for this project. And then for business engagement, just continuing that outreach through various events and communications within our community. So for the second strategic goal, effective communication and engagement, this is really looking to keep residents informed and involved within our community and what we're doing. Some accomplishments, our community events and engagement. We've hosted a variety of events throughout the year, ranging from the MLK Holiday Parade to Juneteenth Festival, Opportunity, Spring into Summer, all sorts of events that we've been a partner with within our community. We're continuing our efforts with Unity and Regional Connection. The communications and public engagement teams working to roll out, they're working with Civic Brand to roll out a merchandise store. And so there's some continued efforts there. And then for transparency and outreach, we've had a couple big things, with one being the launch of this dashboard, but another being the live streaming of city council meetings and committee meetings. Some challenges, equitable engagement. It's trying to maintain that consistent participation from geographic and demographic groups within our community, and just ensuring we have tailored communication to those groups to continue to have engagement. We've also realized a few staffing gaps here. We've still had a lot of production in this area, but we're hoping to fill those staffing gaps to improve just be more efficient and have some more production there. Upcoming priorities, resident education. High Point 101 kicked off over the past quarter, and the inaugural class you can see there on the right. They will, I believe, be graduating this month, so we're excited to have that endeavor ongoing. We want to continue to increase our multimedia outreach with various videos, infographics on our website, on our social media. And then finally, continued efforts with community branding, so finalizing our merchandise store and continue that unity there.
Can you, or Jerron, maybe speak to the trafficking numbers? Are we getting in 2025 a good outreach for people searching our city website for information?
I will let Jerron speak to that since he's present.
On our website, we've had some changes on the website as far as how we're connecting as we're adding in new elements. So we normally do a periodic update of the traffic that we're getting, and so with some of the changes that we've had, we're talking to Civic Plus, and getting some information from them. But we don't have those most recent engagement numbers, but we are seeing more engagement in our social media with some of the traffic that we have there and some of these initiatives. And so we're trying to incorporate those, some of the things she's talking about, we're incorporating those to the public to kind of get them re-engaged and reconnected on many of the items that you see here.
Okay.
Well, Jerron, since I got both of you here, the High Point 101, what was the initial application numbers? How many people did we attract for the inaugural class? I mean, I know we had a limited number we could seat, but how much interest did we get?
We got, for the opening, we got between 20 and 30 applications of people that were interested. We had a cap on the number of participants at 20. With people's schedules and such, we ended up with a few people that started and, had other scheduling issues. But the class that you see there, that's about the number of people. I think as we stand right now, we're between 16 and 17 people that have kind of gone throughout. But as people understand what it is, this is our first year of the relaunch, we expect to get even more interest. A lot of these folks have taken it back to their community, so we anticipate next year we'd have even more interest and participation.
And final question, how close are we on the merchandise store?
Well, at this point, we've had some information, some dialogue back and forth, and we are in final discussions with the vendor that will be providing the support, as we talked about earlier. So we hope to be hearing back from them real soon, and we can finalize something that, and then legal can help us nail out the final terms that are, agreeable for what we're trying to do.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Need it just in time for Christmas, though.
Yeah.
Stocking stuffer for everyone.
Right. The socks.
All right, so moving on to our strategic goal number 3, proactive urban design and planning, which is looking at shaping growth so it benefits everyone within our community. Some key accomplishments for commercial plan reviews, we are exceeding expectations there. All reviews have been completed within 5 business days throughout the quarter. The development ordinance update, it is underway, and adoption is anticipated sometime in mid-2026 there. And finally, High Point 2045 implementation, a task force has been launched there, and several initiatives are currently in motion. For challenges within this area, some project partnership coordination, and this is just kind of noting that we have other partners outside of the city, such as North Carolina DOT and MPOs, which are the metropolitan planning organizations, where just the review of plans and that sort of things can sometimes delay some projects. And so we're facing some slowness there. And then finally, the microtransit funding through the Bloomberg Challenge was not secured. So staff's continuing to explore funding options there and various opportunities for microtransit. And that's also part of the short-range transit plan program, which is an upcoming priority, just to kind of jump down there. That's an upcoming priority where efforts are continuing with that study just to review all the tools in the toolbox for transportation, microtransit being one of those. And that's just looking at all the options and funding opportunities for short-range transit.
Meredith,
Yes.
Without the Bloomberg funding, will we not be able to provide any microtransit until we find a funding source?
I think from my understanding and talks with our DOT director, our transportation director, he noted that we realize this is a priority for this council and our community, and so we are working to explore other funding options and looking how we can continue that program.
Well, I can say from recent interaction with different community groups, when we talked about microtransit, everyone's eyes got big because they hadn't heard about it before. But I think that's something that if we have any opportunity, if we're able to maintain this service, folks are extremely interested in the concept of microtransit here in the city as a transit option.
Yep. Okay. Other upcoming priorities, the BUILD grant, which is better utilizing investments to leverage development. We're working on finalizing some designs there and initiating the acquisition process for that area. And then finally, our transit study engagement, we've had a few more engagement opportunities there, and we're continuing to gather feedback on the draft so we can refine our transit opportunities. So for strategic goal 4, resilient community, we're focusing on what makes neighborhoods strong through safety, vitality, character, and our essential services within this goal area. Key accomplishments, the library sensory garden completion. We held a ribbon cutting, and the garden's now open daily. The city's launched a mental health response team. The police department restructured some staff to create a dedicated team for mental health response, and efforts are ongoing to continue training staff on mental health. Finally, fair housing program advancement. The ordinance was adopted. We've hired an investigator, and we are having discussions with HUD regarding certification and funding for this area. Some challenges, we've had a few staffing gaps, again, within our code enforcement area, and that's been a struggle within peak season. So we're looking to fill those vacancies. And then the whole home repair funding is lacking there. The current program can address urgent needs within that program. However, it leaves some broader issues unresolved for the whole home funding. Upcoming priorities are continued construction of the Center for Active Adults. We held a groundbreaking for that project in August, and there is a construction timeline of 16-month build. So we're looking forward to continue our momentum there. And then to, again, fill our code enforcement vacancies so we can be a bit more proactive and reduce the complaints in our priority areas. For Goal 5, effective infrastructure and public utilities, this is, again, maintaining reliable roads, sidewalks, and bridges, and ensuring safe and dependable water and electric services within our community. Key accomplishments, our automated metering infrastructure project is ongoing. 25% of meters have been installed for electric, and 95% of the water system conversion is taking place. The CMAQ sidewalk projects review, environmental documentation is under review at North Carolina DOT with anticipated construction beginning in spring for those projects. And I didn't note it on the slide, but CMAQ is congestion mitigation and air quality program. And then Burton Avenue and Gallimore Dairy Road projects, construction is progressing for both. For Burton, the utility relocation was completed, and Gallimore Dairy Road Phase 2 is currently in progress for that project.
Before you go further, if I
Sure.
could back up to the sidewalk projects, just for the record and in the event somebody might be listening, you know, we've got a long list of wants of people wanting millions and millions of dollars worth of sidewalks. Can you explain simply, if you can, because I think I can, how and why it takes so long to get a half-mile sidewalk put down?
I don't know the specifics of the process. I can get that information. Mr. Duquesne can probably speak very eloquently to it.
Well, we'll go with speak.
We'll go with Steve.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. Thank you, Meredith. So, yes, sir. So the congestion mitigation air quality projects are federally funded, much like many of the projects that filter through the state, right? So projects of that nature, the process is longer because there are a lot of requirements that go along with those funds, as council's well aware. So when we advocate at the federal level for projects, it's usually staff's purview to sort of advise the elected body that, you know, when those funds are agreed to by the federal government, those projects can take anywhere from 3 to 5 years to come to life. So those are usually larger dollar projects, and we only pay a small portion of a match. In addition to the CMAQ funding, did that answer your question, sir? Wanted to make sure I answered that first. And as a quick follow-up there, the council did set aside $250,000 for additional sidewalk projects out of local funding. Those projects are, you know, ready to go. They'll probably start in the spring as well in coordination with these.
Damon, follow-up. I know everyone believes that their particular area should be first on the list to get sidewalks. What's the determining factor on how we sequence the projects?
Yes, sir. There's a list. There's a priority ranking process. So while everyone would like to believe it's, you know, first in, first out, that's simply not the case. The projects are rated on factors such as safety, the speed of the traffic, the number of vehicles traveling that area, and other factors like that. And so it's sort of a level playing field then at the end of the day for where those projects fall. And we can provide that information to anyone who'd like to see it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Some challenges here, as noted earlier, some external partner delays, so such as Burton Avenue with the private utility relocation. There's just been, that's just been across the board. Environmental reviews, there were some delays there as well. For the AMI customer portal, the vendor has realized some hiccups there, and they want to, the city, when we launch that customer portal, we want to ensure that it's efficient and that it's performing well and provides a high-quality experience. And so we hope to have those hiccups kind of resolved and launch that portal in the near future, which you can see the continued AMI efforts as an upcoming priority there. And so we think that can turn around pretty quickly. And we also want to continue our electric meter installs. For Shady Brook Lift Station, we would like to, our upcoming priority would be to complete the preliminary engineering work and advance to full design phase in the next quarter or so. And then finally, for CMAQ and sidewalk projects, finalize the environmental reviews and begin construction planning. And so for our final strategic goal, Goal 6, high-performing organization, some key accomplishments here. Our Workday ERP system has launched. That included the human resources and finance transition over. We've completed a payroll cycle or two now, which is good news, and then we have been conducting ongoing training with staff for this system. Another accomplishment, the compensation and class study, phase 1, the recommendations for 398 employees were implemented, and phase 2 launched in September, which is the other 2/3 of the study. Finally, faster fleet system has been implemented, and that's allowing us to modernize our fleet operations, and so that is now in place as well. Some challenges that we faced within this area: employee development programming delays. So all of kind of our focus for employee development transitioned to Workday trainings to ensure that that implementation went as smoothly as could be expected. And so we hope to, once all of that implementation is stable, we hope to then readjust our focus back to various employee development programs, such as succession planning, leadership development, those sorts of things. And just a note on the audit timeline, again, with our transition to Workday, we had some year-end processes that were delayed. So the audit, it's still on track for the December deadline, so that's fine, but there were just, that timeline has been compressed a little bit more than usual. Finally, some upcoming priorities. Workday open enrollment and trainings. Open enrollment is ongoing right now, and we hope to have everything within Workday stabilized in the next quarter or so and have a smooth open enrollment process. Employee recognition events. Last month, we held the employee milestone ceremony, and in December, we'll have our annual employee luncheon. So those are two big recognition events for our employee base that are ongoing within this quarter. And finally, the engagement committee recommendations that will come forward in early 2026, where the employee survey results will be reviewed and then actionable strategies will be presented from that committee. And so with that, so we can get to the actual dashboard and see more details on these various updates, we will launch the dashboard here. And so with that, we'll start here with the strategic plan landing page for the city, on the city website. You have a little bit of information here about the strategic plan, some notes about the dashboard with a link to the dashboard, and then the full strategic plan here at the bottom of the site. So clicking into the dashboard, again, the home page, excuse me, which has, looks very similar to the demo that we've provided previously, with some information here on the strategic plan and how we got here. The overall progress and status charts that you saw earlier in the presentation, with a little key here on the status areas. As you continue to scroll down, we have 6 buttons related to our 6 strategic goal areas. Each button has the progress bar underneath the image, as well as the status bar underneath the image as well, and then a brief kind of overview of what each strategic goal area encompasses. And so if we click into one, again, you have the strategic goal area and what it includes, as well as the list of the objectives. And so as you continue to click within the website, you get farther and farther and more details into each area. And so we will click into the objective related to a vibrant and diverse community. And you can see the various initiatives if there's a project associated with that strategic goal area. And you can see the overall objective progress and status, as well as the individual initiative and project status and progress. And then you can click in to any of these to actually see what update was provided by staff to provide that transparency and information about where we stand. And you can transition throughout. If you go into a specific project, it looks a little different, but they are attached to the plan. And you can note here if there's a budget or expenditures associated, what phase the project's in, and then again, the latest update, as well as a brief description of what that project actually entails.
What's the expectation for how often this will be updated?
Yes. So we are initially having a cadence of quarterly updates for this dashboard. If there are big mile markers that the city hits, we'll try to include those as quickly as possible once we achieve those big mile markers. But overall, I would say quarterly updates are what we're looking at currently to kick things off. So if we go back to the home page, again, you can click through all of these and see various, as you get into the infrastructure, you can obviously see where more of the projects would be located. So if you're more interested in why there's some disruptions, you can click through and you can see here where staff's included what the challenges were. So there was a delay in private utility relocations, but everything's been revised with a new date, and so we can kind of continue moving there. There's just been a little bit of disruption.
Is there a way to see when the last update was? Like, I like how this says that it was revised on October 1st. Is there a date associated on each page with when it was last updated?
There is not, but we can look into including that. so that folks are aware of what
Just-
quarter update it is.
right.
That makes sense, yes, ma'am.
I don't know if everybody works in quarters, so.
Definitely.
Who's providing that information within, I mean, you have so many avenues you can go down on this website. Is each department
Correct.
adding their own?
Each
piece?
initiative and project is associated with an owner, if you will, so a specific department would be the owner. There are some projects that obviously multiple departments are
Right.
part of, and so they work together to provide those updates, and we help them with the editing and that sort of thing to make sure it's really inclusive of good information that the public would want to know.
I just hope that, it's impressive. I just hope that citizens are appreciative of the actual time, effort, and money that's going into trying to keep them engaged and keep them updated.
Yeah, I think you made a really great point, Meredith, when you said editing. One of the things that you often experience when talking to the public is sometimes the government speak doesn't necessarily connect with their understanding of what's happening on these projects. So making sure that the language is plain, that they can understand, they can see it, numbers, charts, graphs, the way people consume information that they're able to retain it. I think this is a really good representation of that.
I also had a question about, like, and this may not be able to be possible even, in the next near future, but associating the things that have been voted on by city council with the project so that people can see that timeline. I know that Patrick and I, or Councilmember Herman and I have been communicating with someone who has a lot of questions about AMI and things like that. And so, and he's been requesting, like, when did council vote on it? What was the language? Things surrounding what specifically the city has approved or committed to. So I don't know if that's something that further down the line, we could maybe connect it to the minutes of the meeting or something like that.
Yeah, we could definitely look into that. I know we've had internal discussions related to these updates, and as folks start seeing them, some feedback we receive and that sort of thing, we've noted we've gone through 2 rounds now of updates from departments, and so there's a little bit of coaching there.
Sure.
But we're also trying to include kind of some information from the actions that you all take as far as, if we contract and award a contract to an architect, who is that architect? And it may not have the date, but it's at least noting, like, council awarded contract with such and such architect. I believe one of the recreation projects has listed that. I'm pretty certain they have. So and we'll get to that on the projects page that's next. So again, you can click through all of these and see all the things, all the initiatives and projects related to the strategic plan and all those updates. The other thing I just wanted to highlight here at the very bottom of the site are other data and resources. So we have a link back to the strategic plan landing page on the city website. We have a link to the resident survey landing page on the city website for more information there. And then a secondary dashboard that goes hand in hand with the strategic plan dashboard, which is our strategic projects dashboard. And so as you can see, there's a list of projects here on the left. It has the status. If it has a location, it has a little icon there, and you can see the various locations of specific projects on the map. To the right, if we scroll down and wanted, excuse me, to click in for such as 5 major industrial parks, you can see the updates there. You can see the estimated completion and progress, what phase we're in, as well as a brief description at the bottom. And then on the left, the map of where those locations may be. If you continue, let's see. So for the Center for Active Adults, you can see here, this is the example I was thinking of, Councilmember Cook, as far as the city council approved with Bloom Construction for this project, and the construction began. Some information again on what phase. As construction progresses, we can add additional photos. Right now, we have a rendering. So it's just trying to provide as much information as we can to the community about these strategic projects that we have ongoing. And that's really all. There's a search bar if you're really, if there's something specific and you don't recall which area, but it's a specific project that you continue to hear about, you can include it up here in the search bar and it will take you directly to the project you're looking for. So that's a nice feature as well. Any questions on the dashboard? I have a couple more slides that I'm happy to go through, or we can continue talking about the dashboard.
As far as getting this out to the public and getting them aware of this, is there a plan, a marketing plan, I guess?
So that
folks
is
engage
a
with this?
perfect segue into our engagement efforts. So we have a press release that I believe has gone out as this meeting has taken place. We will be providing some social media posts in the near future regarding this dashboard, what it can do, some potentially fun facts about the dashboard as we move forward. A link is on the website, it's on the homepage, a direct link to the dashboard, and information will be in Inside High Point. We're happy to continue any other efforts. Communications and Public Engagement Department have been a great resource and a great help in trying to get this information out as we continue to promote our strategic plan and where we stand with our progress for it. So, and with that is my presentation, so I'm happy to take any additional questions, comments.
Meredith, fantastic job. Thank you for this presentation. It was very comprehensive and in-depth. And at this time, we'll open it up for any additional questions from the committee.
The only question that came to mind as we were looking at kind of the additional resources at the bottom was maybe referencing the One High Point Commission and how this is being rolled out equitably across all areas of the city. I don't believe that it's not. I just think that directly addressing it might be helpful as community members start to explore the site.
Yeah. And the site has that opportunity as well as, again, once we get, I failed to hit this in the presentation, but once we finalize our coaching with performance metrics, we plan to have those KPIs also on this dashboard. So it's growing and evolving. We wanted to get, kind of phase it out with first the initiative updates, the project dashboard, and then we hope to have those metrics and any other additional resources that we think are appropriate for the dashboard to be there. So thank you for that.
Meredith, earlier in your presentation, you talked about how you guys will continue to curate specific data, how you will add some and take some away over time. What is the method of deciding what should be reported and what should not be reported?
Correct. So within the coaching program that we've been going through, we've evaluated really all the data that we have. And so any data where a department head is really just saying, my predecessor collected it, I haven't used it, but I just continued collecting it just because that's not useful data. It's not necessarily the type of data that we need to collect. And so
Does public consumption factor into that? Like
it does, especially when we're
the public is searching for something. Is that
Correct.
something that you use to decide whether or not to report certain
Correct.
aspects?
Yeah. If department heads are very familiar with the questions that they're getting and what the public's looking for. And so that helped us also distinguish, now that we've cleaned up the data that is being used, what is public data? What is the public really interested in, and what helps tell your story of your department and what you do? And then what is internal data that it's too in the weeds for the public? They're not necessarily interested in it, but it helps us make decisions on the programs and the services that we provide. And so that's kind of the determining factor there.
One thing comes to my mind. How do you all think this will affect the request for public records?
I haven't experienced that quite yet, so.
Good morning again, Chairman. Damon Duquesne, Assistant City Manager. I didn't identify myself last time. So I don't know that it will probably prompt more of them, but it may make it easier to respond to them.
Sure.
By just simply driving
into it.
folks to
Yeah.
the website or to this information. We're hopeful that being as transparent as we can with this, that it would hopefully decrease some of that.
Yeah.
But I think typically, and I'll defer to the attorney, on a public records request, they're usually searching for something else, right, that's tied to some type of legal reason. And so there's usually a different purpose driving that. But out of curiosity, the other thing we hope that this will do, at least that I hope that it will do, is if someone goes in and looks at, say, the Burton Avenue Sidewalk Project, and it has a question, it'll prompt them to reach out to us, right? And we can share a lot more in a conversation, in a 2 or 3 minute conversation with someone, than we can trying to pack it all into a website and avoid that personal interaction. Because I think that's something that, personally, again, is sort of lacking, right? We love to talk to our constituents, to your constituents and our residents, and we can share a lot more information if we can generate some conversations with our staff, who are excellent communicators. So.
Thank
I
you.
think that's a great point, Damon. Is there like an internal component to this for the departments to utilize, that the more granular stuff that the public would be interested in, to sort of
There
guide
is.
things?
With the performance metrics, we are building internal dashboards that are really for internal use. As we progress, we hope to work with departments, and we can help them, if they choose, they can utilize the system internally for various specific things within their department that is not necessarily public. We can keep that all internal and not publish that.
Yeah, right.
So this is kind of related to the question about if people want to follow a specific project, is there a way, maybe in the future too, that they could subscribe to a certain project so that whenever updates are available, or that we could add that to our current subscription options, that at the end of each quarter, when the updates are live, that people could get an email generated to say, okay, you can check in on the updates?
I'm not certain that that feature exists, but I think the best solution for them would be to utilize that search bar and just note the specific project they're looking for and just be able to search it that way. But that's something we can definitely talk to Invisio about if that's feasible.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for?
This is fantastic. This is fantastic.
Great.
Agreed. All right. Well, if there are no other questions and there's no announcements, any announcements from the committee?
Little Sally's a big hit.
Yeah, go see the troll if you haven't been.
Yeah, absolutely. The amount of buzz and number of interactions through different social media sites regarding the troll has Little Sally. Troll sounds so negative, right?
Right.
Regarding the piece of public art that we have now, it's extraordinary. Folks from all over the world are actually talking about High Point and planning to visit High Point on a troll, like a troll journey or something. It's like, so it's kind of interesting, right? So now we're going to be part of that. So this is just really highlighting us leaning into this inclusive environment of a city that we are trying to build together. So really big weekend.
There's an event at Oakview Rec Center tonight. Neighborhood Association is trying to encourage more folks to participate in the Neighborhood Association, 6:30 at Oakview Rec Center tonight.
Thank you. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, that was our final item, and we are adjourned.